Aloha. Thank you for joining us today for our interactive presentation on threats to our watersheds. My name is Jamie, and this presentation is brought to you by the Oahu Invasive Species Committee. Today, we're going to be learning about different species here in Hawaii and the threats that they pose, why different forest layers are important to the watershed, and we're going to discuss the role that stormwater plays in our watersheds. Throughout this, we're going to be asking some interactive questions. These questions are meant to be fun and help you remember what you're learning. So they won't be graded, and only I can see your answers, so just go ahead and answer them the best that you can. Have you ever thought about how far away Hawaii is from everything else? 70 million years ago, Hawaii was born from volcanic hotspots in the middle of the ocean. And over these 70 million years, new species arrived here in the islands, but because of how far away Hawaii is, it took a long time for them to get here. So the ones that were lucky enough to make it here had millions of years to evolve together without interruption. So if people didn't bring those species, how do you think those plants and animals got here? How do you think they made it all the way across the ocean? This is our first interactive question, so go ahead and answer whether you think it was by wing, by wind, wave, or all of the above. If you said all of the above, you're correct. In Hawaii, we also say the three M's for Manu, Makani, and Moana. So seeds can get blown around by the Makani or the wind, and some seeds even have special features that are designed to help them blow in the wind. Other seeds can float around in the Moana or the ocean water. They float until they wash up somewhere on shore. And the third M is for Manu. Manu, bird could mean a couple different things. Birds love to eat fruit, and when they swallow seeds, they poop them out somewhere else. And that's actually how a lot of seeds get spread around. However, seeds can also hitchhike on a bird, meaning get attached to their wing or feathers somewhere. And just like when you walk by a plant and then one gets stuck to your shoe, you go ahead and pick it off, and then it ends up somewhere else. So there are many different plants in Hawaii today, native and non-native species. Do you think that native plants arrived here with the help of humans or without the help of humans? Native plants are plants that arrived to Hawaii without the help of humans. There are two types of native species. We have endemic and indigenous. Endemic species means they are unique to that area and found nowhere else. This means they evolved in that spot and spent a long time changing to fit the ecosystem there. A species can be endemic to a mountain, an island, a state, a country, or anything in between. The ohia tree pictured here is found in Hawaii and nowhere else in the world. Then we have indigenous species. These species are native to more than one place in the world and naturally made their way around. This lima pictured here is native to Hawaii, and it's even Oahu's official island flower. However, it's also native to other Pacific islands in between Hawaii and China. So, if a native species arrived here without the help of humans, then a non-native species must have arrived here with the help of humans. Can you tell me who were the first humans to arrive here in the Hawaiian Islands? Was it the Pilgrims or the Polynesians? All right, if you said Polynesians, you're correct. The Polynesian explorers were the first to arrive here in the Hawaiian Islands, and they brought with them plants that would provide food and medicine. Many of those plants are here today, like the ones pictured. We have coconut, kalo, and kukui tree. Since these were brought by people, that makes them non-native species, even though some of them are very culturally important. Do any of the plants pictured here look familiar to you? Yes or no? All of the plants here are non-native species, however, also still common and important. So go ahead and answer. Do you think all non-native species are bad? The answer is no. Think about some of these. Bananas, mangoes, coconuts, kalo, they're all good to eat, and they were introduced by people. They provide us with food, farmers can sell them for money, and you don't see them taking over our neighborhoods or forests. Here are two examples of non-native species. We have plumeria and then the octopus tree. We see many plumeria trees planted here in Hawaii, and people love them because they smell good and are beautiful. They make nice lei. You'll notice though that a plumeria tree doesn't just pop up anywhere. Normally someone puts it there and puts time and care into it. You don't see plumeria crowding out other plants either or taking over forests or farms. The octopus tree, on the other hand, is a whole nother story. This tree has spread across Oahu and now dominates the vegetation of the southern range of the Windward Ko'olau Mountains, making it very invasive. So how do certain non-native plants become invasive while others are not? Well, one thing is that invasive plants can live in a variety of habitats, meaning they can live just about anywhere. They reproduce quickly, which means they have a lot of seeds, eggs, or babies, and they outcompete native species for resources, meaning they use up more food and space. Take a look at the Myconia plant pictured here. Not only does Myconia take up space, water, and sunlight, but they can make 9 million seeds a year. They grow quickly, shading out the understory. This makes them good at being invasive. Another thing is that invasive species also usually have a lack of predators or natural enemies. This means they don't get the same diseases or have the same competition that a native species would normally have. Feral pigs thrive in our Hawaiian forests because we don't have large apex predators like mountain lions or wolves. Other than humans, feral pigs have no predators to keep their populations in check and therefore thrive. So we just discussed some of the qualities that make a species really good at being invasive, but for a non-native species to be truly considered invasive, they must cause harm to any of the four following things: our health, environment, economy, or quality of life. Here we see a mosquito biting a person. This spreads disease, and that can affect our health. Also, we see a mosquito biting the eye of an apapane bird. This also spreads diseases like avian malaria. That harms our environment because that disease spreads and kills native birds at an alarming rate. The rash pictured here on someone's neck is a person that's been stung by the invasive little fire ant. This invasive ant bite causes pain, making it nearly impossible to live and work in areas that are infested with this pest. If you can't work, that harms our economy. And if you can't enjoy being outside in your yard, then that's harming your quality of life. So, how do plants make it here? We talked a little bit about that. We said non-native plants can come with people. So in Hawaii, we import almost all of our food and goods, and invasive species come with that. They can hitchhike on boats and airplanes. Some invasive plants were even brought intentionally before people realized how out of hand they can get. Once they're established on island, they directly impact our native species by pushing them to be endangered, which means they're at risk of disappearing forever. All of the animals pictured here are endangered. This means that if we don't do something to help them, they could disappear forever. Once an animal is endangered, special laws help to protect it so that it's illegal to harm these animals. Do any of these animals look familiar to you? Yes or no? Another important species in Hawaii is the ohia tree. It's one of our most important canopy trees and provides habitat for countless other plants and animals. The picture on the far right shows centuries-old ohia tree. Do you notice how many other plants and animals are growing on it? Yes or no? I see a lot of plants growing on it, though. The ohia tree doesn't just provide habitat for other plants. It also is important to other animals like the eevi bird. This tree provides food and shelter, and in return, the eevi bird eats insects on the tree and drinks its nectar. Doing that helps to pollinate the flowers and produce seeds. Like we mentioned, the Eevee is just one of the many species that rely on ohia for food and shelter. So, like we said, the ohia is an important canopy tree. Well, the canopy is a particular layer in our forests. Forests are made up of different trees, shrubs, ferns, mosses, all sorts of plants. They are all different shapes and sizes, and depending on where they are, it puts them in a different layer of our forests. Hawaii's forests have 4 basic layers. We have our emergent layer. This is the tallest layer. We have the canopy. This is the layer that gets the most rain, and when it comes to ohia, water flows down its branches to its trunk into the ground. We have the subcanopy. This layer absorbs tree drips from the layers above. And then the ground cover at the bottom. Down here, we have mosses and ferns that help to hold water in and slow evapotranspiration. So, what would happen to the other layers if the ohia layer was gone, the canopy? If we lose the layer of our forest that catches the most raindrops, if ohia is replaced with strawberry guava, the subcanopy and ground cover would get no sun and be crowded out. If the subcanopy and ground cover are gone, we lose soil to erosion. Canopy and emergent trees wouldn't grow, or because their seeds would get washed away, and evapotranspiration would increase. Strawberry guava is a highly invasive invader. It crowds out other plants in the forest, creating areas where nothing else grows, not even on the ground. Because there are no other plants on the ground, then rain will easily wash away the soil. The soil will end up in our streams, which dumps into our oceans and then onto our reefs, smothering them. While strawberry guava does provide some products that humans use and we enjoy the taste of it, it grows and spreads much faster than we want it to. It's now invaded our mountain forests far away from where we live, where it would have been originally planted. Seeds are eaten and spread by birds and pigs, and people can spread the seeds too. When hiking, they get stuck in their shoes in the mud. Have you ever seen the water get really brown after it rains? Yes or no? Well, this is because of the erosion that we keep talking about. Erosion, invasive species tend to be poor at holding in dirt, and our watersheds provide us with clean water, food, and shelter for our native species. Native plants hold the soil so the dirt doesn't wash into the stream and oceans. Invasive plants grow faster than native species, however, often crowding them out. When invasive species start rapidly spreading and shade out our ground cover, this will threaten the ecosystem services provided by native forests. When erosion happens, the water turns brown like this, and it can smother the reefs. Coral reefs are important to our fish supply and our marine ecosystems. We can see how this problem affects us all the way from Mauka, from the mountains, to Makai, the ocean. Feral pigs, like we mentioned earlier, are also an invasive species. They eat and spread invasive seeds like strawberry guava, and they dig up and eat ground cover plants, causing more erosion. As you can see here, this area has been heavily rooted around by a pig, and nothing's really growing at the bottom. So what's being done? One thing that's being done is fences are being put up to keep feral pigs out of important forest areas. Also, people remove strawberry guava and other invasives to give the native plants a chance to bounce back. So the last threat to our watersheds that we're going to discuss today is stormwater runoff. When it rains, water needs to be able to soak into the ground in order to refill our underground aquifers. When land is not able to soak up the rain because of too many impervious surfaces, aka surfaces that water can't go through, like concrete roads, parking lots, and roofs and buildings, then it travels down the road, picking up dirt, trash, other pollutants, until it reaches our storm drain. In Hawaii, all of our storm drains lead directly to the ocean. This can cause beaches to close because of high bacteria levels and causes more trash to end up in our already polluted waterways. Things that we can do to help this problem is to encourage businesses to use things like permeable pavers to create parking lots. These allow for waters to soak through the pavement and into the ground. At home, you can prevent stormwater runoff by creating a native rain garden. These bathtub-like depressions help capture the stormwater coming off of your roof and your gutter. And it allows the water to soak into the ground and evaporate into the air and do these natural processes that is lost when it goes into the storm drain. Also, you can do simple things like picking up your dog poop or using an eco-friendly soap when you wash your car outside. You want to remember to never dump anything into the storm drain since it does lead straight into our oceans. Remember, our ecosystems are an intricate web and our watersheds are connected from Malka to Makai. If we don't care for the land, then we also have a negative impact on our oceans. And if we don't care for our oceans, it's going to have a negative impact on our land. To keep our watersheds safe from threats, we need to malama aina, or care for our land. Some other things that you can do to help with threats to our watersheds, the threats that we discussed earlier are always hiking with clean shoes. Invasive species can get trapped in the dirt on your shoes. You want to report suspect invasive species to the state pest hotline, 643-PEST. You can also download the smartphone app in your app store or go to www.643pest.org. And also you can buy locally. The more things that are made and grown here in Hawaii, the less we bring in for other places, reducing the risk of hitchhiking pests. Lastly, you can volunteer. Follow the pop-up on your page for volunteer opportunities with conservationconnections.org. It's a great way to find things that are even close to you, that are conservation related. You get to get outside and have some fun while giving back. All right, we're going to do a couple review questions. So go ahead and answer the best you can. What is it called when dirt washes away from the land? Is it called percolation, erosion, or dumping? It's called erosion. When a species is endangered, what does that mean? Does it mean that it's extinct? Does it mean it's a newly discovered species? Or does it mean it receives special protection by law to help save the species? The last answer is correct. It receives special protection by law. In Hawaii, what predators do feral pigs have? Is it humans, mountain lions, or wolves? It's humans. Remember, we said that because we don't have apex predators like mountain lions and wolves, humans are basically the only threat to feral pigs. And last one, what is the dominant tree in the canopy of our Hawaiian forests? Is it the banyan tree, the ohia tree, or the milo tree? It's the ohia tree. Remember, this important canopy tree, many things rely on it in our Hawaiian forest, so it's important that we do our best to keep them safe. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed learning about threats to our watersheds. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email us at oisc@hawaii.edu. And if you want to learn more with us, you can visit our website at www.oahuisc.org. Mahalo and hui hou.